So this is where we left off last time. I switched the material to a matte cap gray just so that we can, it makes it a little bit easier for me to see, and I get kind of bored with the red wax material. So I'm looking at my character from the front view, and he's looking a little wide, and we haven't even sculpted in the obliques yet, or the love handles, so I'm just going to kind of push this area in a little bit, and what I'm going to do is go in and really just clean this up. And I want to double check my proportions from the side view, and his hands are blocking me. So I'm going to actually mask out a good chunk of my character here, including the legs. And the reason I want to include the legs at this point is because when we look at our reference, and here's an image I found on the internet, what you'll notice is our obliques here, they come they sit on top of our hips, our hip bones. And they sort of come up the side, and our obliques actually go they go all the way into they go from our sides of our body to our back. So let's take a look at just kind of sculpting that out. So you want to think of them as coming in from back here all the way down and kind of pinching into this area here. So this is that whole area up into the back here. And again, we don't have any back muscles on our model yet, so see how it sits just below the rib cage and comes all the way around like that. And again, it just sort of pinches into here. So we need to kind of define where our hips are. So, and we know that the top of the bone for our hips sits actually just slightly above the mid-center of our lower abdomen. So what we can do is I'm going to grab my Damien standard, and I'm really just going to throw a line in going this way. And if you want to, you can further develop like this crotch area, just kind of pushing this out a little bit more. Same thing here, you can build out that hip just to kind of, so you have a reference point to what you're going to build on. And then what I normally do is I go in and I cut away with my clay buildup, just a clear distinction between where my abs are, like that. And then what you can do is once you have that in there, you can actually go in and just add a little bit more clay to kind of. And I again, the way I sort of do it is I flatten out the one side here. I'm just building up planes at first, and then you can smooth them out later. Lighting usually smooths it out for you. I'm going to go ahead and grab my Damien standard and just sort of accentuate this a little bit here. Just smooth that out a little bit. Again, I'm just looking for markers at this point. Let me build this out a little bit more with my clay buildup. Double check that from the side view. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is, again, coming from here and then sweeping up to the lower part of the back, I'm just going to build out those obliques. So something like this. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit too. And I might play with the proportions a little bit at this point. Looks good from the side view, and again, same thing here. I might add a little clay on the rib cage. I'm always sort of just kind of adding and tweaking the proportions of everything, further accentuating this. Alright, let's take a look at that. And I'm going to go ahead and shape this out a little bit better. I'm going to wrap these muscles all the way down. And then I'm going to pull them out so that he's square. Because we're building a man here, and so he should have a larger rib cage, something like this. Might pull his hips in a little bit. And when it comes time to developing the back, we'll have a little bit better of a let's pull this out a little bit. You'll be able to see the lats a little bit more sticking out from the front, because again, this is just his rib cage. It'll look more along the lines something like this. You'll be able to see clear definition between them. But we're going to do that when we sculpt the lats up into the neck, into the back. That's looking pretty good for now. Again, we're just looking for a first pass at the anatomy of our character here. So, and again, you're going to lose a lot of detail as you sort of go over this. So it's okay to go back in and continuously throw some clay down. And we're sort of losing a little bit up here too. That crease that comes up. I just went to, oops. I'm looking at it from the front, and you should have a little bit more fat coming off to that side there. It looks good. It sweeps in, sweeps up the back here. This is looking pretty good too here. So we can actually go in and just sort of smooth out a lot of this. Even our abdomen here. These need to be moved in. Pulled out a little bit there. Same thing down here. This needs to be a little bit higher. And again, we're always sort of tweaking, and we're going to tweak it to our actual live character. You know, and if we look at our character, he's not going to have even this much definition. You can see here his chest is much flatter and his abdomen and stuff. So we're really just building an idealized form of him for now. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm going to actually push in this area just below the armpit. And then I'm going to build it out from the back because I want to start sculpting in the lats. So what I normally do is starting from where, you know, our obliques come in, sculpt that a little bit less so you can see they kind of come up this way. You want to build out just the general shape of the lats, and they wrap around this way into the center of the back, coming up like this. And this mass here that we're adding, if we go to our front, you'll see we'll start to develop. You'll start to be able to see the lats from the front. So something like this. I might carve this down a little bit here. And once we have that sort of defined, we can come up into the neck area up here. And this is going to develop our shoulder, you know, sort of our shoulder region. Okay, so let's just keep adding. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit too, just so we can see that. I'm going to bring this down. Again, so our lats should actually come in a little bit lower here, and that's okay. So I'm just going to keep adding volume. Again, you'll see that's where we get a lot of our shape. And once we've got that really identified, then we can kind of cheat a little bit, because the thickest part of the lats is just below the armpits. So I'm going to pull that out like that. Push this in just a little bit. So we get something that looks like this. I think his chest might be too small, so I might widen that out a little bit too. I'm always going to sort of tweak as I move, but for example, cutting out that little nudge there. Okay. Alright, we're slowly getting there. And then in the next video, we'll continue to work out the back. We'll start to add in the muscles that attach to the rib cage. And then we'll have a final polish where we just sort of reshape all the muscles.